Hi everyone. If you are the kind of person who gets good news and immediately starts looking for what's wrong with it, this one is for you. The part of you that waits for the other shoe to drop has very good reasons for doing what it does. And the research on this is large and fascinating. It turns out that the inability to trust positive news isn't a mindset problem. It is a nervous system prediction built from experience and running on autopilot. And that can change. There is actually a name for this. Psychologists have been studying this phenomenon long enough that it has its own research literature. It goes by the term fear of happiness. Sometimes it's called cheirophobia, from Greek word chairo, meaning to rejoice. And it's probably far more common than its clinical sounding name suggests. It describes the discomfort that we feel when things are going well, the low level guardedness that makes it hard to relax into good news, and the background thought of this probably won't last that follows you even into the moments when you're supposed to feel good. A psychologist named Muzen Joshanlu, I'm not sure how to pronounce the or how to put the stress on the last name correctly, studied this across 14 countries and developed a validated scale to measure it. Some of the items on that scale might feel really familiar. I prefer not to be too joyful because usually joy is followed by sadness. Or disasters often follow good news. These are the thoughts of people whose nervous system have learned through experience to treat good news as a reason to brace rather than the reason to rest. And here's the part that really matters. The research on who is most likely to these points clearly experience this points clearly towards attachment style. A large-scale analysis of 22 potential predictors found that insecure attachment that I tend to talk about, both anxious and avoidant variety, was among the strongest predictors of fear of happiness, indicating that it's a relational learning picked up early in life and carried forward. Um, this is probably the most important thing to understand about it all. Um, your automatic nervous system is running on a constant, mostly unconscious forecast based on every experience of safety and danger you have had since early life. Stephen Porges, the author of polyvagal theory, calls it process neuroception, your body's way of scanning the for threat cues below the level of conscious thought. It's automatic, and you again it's not happening consciously, and it carries a lot more of your history um, than what's in front of you right now. Neuroscience also tells us that negative experience activate amygdala faster and more intensely than positive ones. They recruit more neural network and they create stronger and more durable memories. Rick Hansen describes this with a phrase that has stuck around because it's quite accurate. So the brain is like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones. Uh, and Robert Sapolsky's research on stress physiology adds something important on top of that. The mere anticipation of stressor activates the same physiological stress response as the stressor itself. It means that your body doesn't need bad thing to actually happen. The expectation is enough to be stressed. By the way, this whole activation of the brain uh, during the negative experiences, it's called negative bias, and it's a survival mechanism for us, and it can be rewired through gratitude practices. By the way, a little parenthesis. So when the good news arrive and your system immediately starts scanning for what might go wrong, it's not really irrational. It's your nervous system doing exactly what it's built to do, to to run the prediction based on everything that you've learned before. Um, And this is where it gets a bit mind bending, and also where a lot of people recognize themselves. There is a mechanism in the research that called devaluation theory. The basic idea is this: when the positive experiences have consistently been followed by the negative ones, when the joy has reliably preceded disappointment, when things going well has tended to be followed by things falling apart, the nervous system eventually updates its model and it starts associating positive things with the incoming pain. And over time, the positive experience itself gets drained of its reward value. Positivity becomes a signal of a negative effect that will follow rather than a nice experience to settle into. A 2016 meta analysis found that people with depression were more likely to avoid positive information than anxious patients and healthy controls. Not because they didn't want to feel good, but because good feelings have been paired with pain often enough. Often enough that receiving good news has stopped feeling safe. And this is why you can know logically that things are fine, but you still can find yourself bracing or waiting for another shoe to drop, so to say. The knowledge lives in your brain. So the bracing lives somewhere in your body and it tends to overtake really fast. Um, Attachment research gives us most useful map of how this pattern gets established in the first place. When early environments are inconsistent, sometimes warm, sometimes frightening, or unavailable, children develop what attachment researchers describe as anxious or ambivalent strategies. They learn to monitor, to stay alert, to keep one eye on one eye on the exist on things that feel okay, because experience has taught them that okay doesn't necessarily last, and that closeness and hurt at the same time can arrive through the same door. The research on fear of happiness connects directly to this. Children who experience punishment or withdrawal following the moments of enjoyment learn not to feel good about positive emotions. The adults who can't quite trust good news often have a younger version of themselves somewhere in the background who learned that for very real reasons back in the days that it wasn't safe to. There is also a physiological dimension worth knowing about. Early life stress leaves traces that are not just psychological patterns in the body. It also leaves the patterns physiologically in how nervous system processes threat and reward at a biochemical level. So it goes much deeper than the conscious memory. Why understanding it isn't enough to change it? You know that probably that you can read everything about the topic and fully recognize the pattern yourself and still find yourself in it, in this particular case, waiting for another shoe to drop next time something good happens. The nervous system doesn't update through insight, it updates through experiences or changed experiences, specifically through repeated experiences, of safety that are felt in the body rather than understood in the mind. The neuroscience is clear that building genuine trust in positive states takes time and repetition. The brain needs consistent positive experiences to gradually rebuild the neurological pathways that allow good things to land without immediately triggering a mobilization response. And because the negativity bias means positive experiences are encoded less durably to begin with, it takes more of them to sustain over a longer time to shift the negative prediction. And this is why somatic work, I believe, for example, the breath, body awareness, co-regulation through safe relationship, slow accumulation of embodied safety, isn't just a nice supplement to real work, it is the real work. And you can't think your way out of the pattern that has never was never stored in the cognitive thinking and the thought, but you can with time help your body to learn a different prediction and send it to more ancient parts of the brain where all these experiences live. Um, a place to start. The most counterproductive thing to do with this pattern is to try to fight it, try to override the bracing, because it tends to amplify it. And resistance itself is a form of threat signal that keeps nervous system alert, and we don't want that. What tends to work better is getting curious about it instead. So when good news arrive and you notice the scanning begins, you can just name it. My system is running through its forecast. That's the thing I learned to do when I was small. And the simple act of witnessing, of building awareness with kindness to yourself, starts to introduce something to the nervous system that can gradually register as safe. This is happening, and the world is not going under, or there is no actual threat. From there, the work deepens. But the beginning is just that, meeting the pattern with a little less judgment and a little more interest. Because the part of you that's been waiting for the other shoe to drop is a not an enemy, it's your protector, but it doesn't serve you anymore. You don't need it. You can do it yourself. Helping it rest, this part, slowly, kindly, without forcing it, is some of the most worthwhile work there is to do. I hope that helps, and do reach out and ask questions if you have any.